Okay, here we are, round three of the grand final replay. So we have Runt here. Welcome along, Runt.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for jumping on, mate. Yeah, so here we are. We're going to be watching back the three grand final games from the perspective of Aurora now. Just before we jump into the clip, I just thought we'd just frame up kind of where we were at going into the grand final. So on the final day, we had I think a couple of games of Cascade 2 left to go, and then we had the Golden Series, and then we're into the grand final. So yeah, man, do you remember what happened in that little the very dramatic ending to the Cascade 2?
Yeah, it was insane. So I was like helping with the scores for it, and pretty much like Torn was saying that there was a difference of like 30 points in our favor, then the like other screen was saying like 100 points in their favor. So it was to decide who's going into Ascensions first. And then we were up by like 900 points on like we worked out what the official scores were. So we're like, okay, cool. So this is actually the official scores. We're 900 up. We're going to be going in first place, which is where you want to be going in for an Ascension series. And then they're like, there's a term getting reversed. It's like, oh, sick. And we were like roughly within a case. We're like, that might matter, that might not matter. Anyway, so it gets reversed. And it was fair enough to reverse it. Like that was, we had no issue with that. But yeah, it was just really funny because they reversed it and then we were down by like 9 average points or something, like insanely close, tied on victory points. So we were like neck and neck with game time the entire series, right up to the Ascensions. And then yeah, we played our first series against them. They had the first color choices, but they deferred to us. So we picked a base sequence that made sense to us. Yeah,
Should
I'll
we
go into
talk
that a bit
about the?
more.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about
Oh,
that.
we
Yep.
can we can do it later or now. So the thinking for that was they're deferring to us, which means we get to pick our base series. So we wanted to start on blue because it was going to be a lockdown game, and blue is in the middle of everything. Um, and if people are aggressing on it and you get kicked out, you just get absolutely annihilated. But if you can keep it locked down, keep two people hidden in the base, you're not going to do the best on pack because you've got two hiding in the base, but your field point players actually have a really good time because all the action's coming to you. So for a lockdown game, we figured blue would be really good, and it did stay a lockdown game, so that worked out awesome for us. The sneak to red is quite good. We can often sneak our red bases there. And the Golden Series, everything just kind of fell into place. Like we were solo cracking bases and just, yeah, we just kind of won off, I don't know, playing well, I guess. But then finals. So yeah, then game two, we picked our strongest base. This was like Bootz's insight, is like pick your strongest base on base two, which I was completely open to because I found like the strongest base was green, um, even though they were the ones that had to defend it. It puts us in the best position in the game to like control the maze. So I'm like, I know it's harder to defend. You guys will figure it out. It's the better base. Suck it up. So I liked finishing on green because especially with dumps, the other two bases are really easy to crack and control. I found like once you crack it, you become like you can control it. They're really nice from green. Um, and so in those really opened up games, you want to be green more than you want to be red because the dump from green to blue is immaculate. The dump from green to red is solid. Whereas from red, the dump to red to blue is horrible. So pretty much avoid doing that on game three. And red was our strongest base for like pack pointing and just playing a normal game. So it made sense to have that in game two. But yeah,
Yeah, and just to add a little bit more to that as well, the thinking behind having your strongest base in game two of a series is that often by game three, there's a team that's out of it and will make a big play in order to get back into it. So they'll dump. So the last thing you want to do is have your best base when it's just like a base race or there's a whole range of dumping and everything going on. So in order to like leverage the best base, you want to have it in the first or second game. And I've always found, from my experience, second game's great because first game can be very locked down at times when nobody wants to make a mistake, and it can be a bit difficult to accumulate points even on the best base. So by having the weakest, what we felt was the weakest base, and I think the stats back that up as well, which was blue being the weakest base. Having that on the first game where things can often be very tight, you hopefully minimize or mitigate the loss. Even if you do lose the game, it's only by a small amount, and then you can leverage your the best base in the second game. So that's always been kind of my theory on all the teams I've played with, and yeah, so we kind of came to that conclusion, and we went into the Golden Series with that order. And yeah, it worked really well for us, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It especially within that maze, like I like the philosophy. I'd say the last two Zoltacs we played, that philosophy hasn't quite held up, which is why I was like a bit like, oh, that's an interesting idea because it's not something that like I'd run into before. Of like a rule is like have your strongest base second, because like Hobart, you wanted to be on green, which was the strongest base because it was the best anti-dump base, because teams just get carved up if they try to dump on you, and it's just so much pack points that you force them to dump kind of thing. And with Aubrey, pre-nats at least, you wanted to be on red at the end because again it was super easy to lock a dump out and it was just super strong, so it was really good to finish. But yeah, no, for this maze especially, I really liked the having red second. So then we won the first Golden Game series. We got to actually pick whether to defer or not. Usually you want to defer, but sometimes you don't. It's always a really interesting decision when you've got first preference. But the series felt so good for us in that sequence of bases where like we need to make sure we get this again, and if we defer, we might have to like play blue on second game or something, and we don't want to do that. So we just picked the exact same order again. Picked to have red second, and yeah, have our green third, and played it out from there.
Yeah, and it felt in terms of how we were feeling in general going into the final day, we kind of felt like we had really ironed some things out, particularly with our dumps, didn't we?
Yeah, I think the main thing for us to learn was I think we knew the theory of the dumping of like you want to get the internal cluster, but really putting it into practice and making it so like at red, for example, four of us will go to try to form that internal ring. One person will hide out back in Pound Town. You'll try and get like three in the base, like literally three, just so you keep that really nice internal cluster. And then you have Bootza all the way back sniping everyone in the back. And we had that predefined. So if we dumped to red, we knew exactly where to go really quickly.
Yeah,
And then it was the same with the other two bases, except they were a bit more simple because it was like, just get five in the base. Who cares?
yeah. And in terms of timing as well, I think we started timing the dumps better as well, knowing when it was if somebody dumped onto us, when the right time to counter dump and all that kind of stuff. We kind of iron those
Yeah.
things out as well.
Yeah, for us it was like try to hold them out for one base. As soon as one drops, just go straight away. Like
Yeah, pretty
because
much.
our
Yeah,
team's strong enough that like dumping is actually pretty good for us because we have five really good jewelers that can crack bases. So we're very open to dumping, and yeah, trying to hold them out and recracking is a horrible experience into dumping on these settings. So it was great for us to just on dump every time, pretty much.
yeah, yeah. Cool. So let's do it. I'm going to share my screen now,
Oh,
and
and to be specific, we're going to say on dump a lot. On dump means if you get dumped on, you go to the next base. You go to the base that, like the other base that people are still at. You don't base swap. So if you get dumped on, you can base swap, or you can on dump and go fight for the other base. So we would pretty much always on dump and fight for the other base and try to break into there before they finish their cycle on ours and meet us there.
we saw examples of base swapping and base dumping in this grand final. So
And trying to hold out the dump as well, which are pretty much your three options. You either hold it, swap it, or on dump. So yeah, it'll be like
yeah,
a perfect dump showcase this final series.
yeah. So here we go. We're starting the huge countdown. I actually enjoyed the long countdown, by the way. Like after us going, oh my god, I can't believe how long this countdown is. Sometimes it was great just to clarify a few things if you didn't get a team talk in or something like that. So it grew on me over the course of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, especially when they started it in the kit up room, I love it. Like, last person's fumbling their pack, just go, get in there, go. It was
Pretty
awesome.
much.
But yeah, we see our blue structure. We're hiding two people in the base. Why am I? I'm already in red, I guess.
Yeah, you're already in red. You start
um,
this game with like 12-1 or something like that. You just absolutely creamed it off the bat. I really feel like this game set us up
mm,
for the entire series. After we did watch it back afterwards, and yeah, particularly this early part of this game really set us up with a handy pack point lead. And poor old Holmes just hiding away in that base. He's one of our superstars, and we had to tuck him away inside blue base for this game. And
yeah,
there wasn't
yeah.
much action happening there.
Can we slow it down to one speed? I'm like
Are you having
my
trouble?
stream's lagging a bit. Yeah, on my end,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
okay. I've got it at
Um,
1.5 at the moment, by the way,
uh,
everybody. I'm gonna slow it to 1. Oops, wrong button.
yeah, just hopefully
Oops.
everything stops skipping a bit for me.
Oops.
Um,
Hold
but
on.
yeah, no, I remember I just had this run to red and everyone was just dying on the way. So I'm like, I'll get in the base and do some trolling. And then I did that, and then they let me back in. So I went in again just to farm tags. Like, I had never had any intention of shooting the base with like 5 defenders still there, but it was really good to get some early tags in.
Yeah.
But Skywalker and Odin kind of seemed to do the same at green by the looks, so they were well still in it.
For
Yeah.
everybody that hasn't seen this arena, the blue base is right kind of in the middle of red and green. So the reason we had two inside the blue is because early in the tournament when we found this, if we only put one inside, oh here we go, somebody's overtakes our base at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
if we had
that's
one, if we had one inside and we had everybody spread on the outside, we were just getting farmed from everywhere. So we decided lock blue down, and just don't let anybody in there. And our other three just meant we didn't have to call the doors or anything. We could just run off and go get points, essentially. Not too
yeah.
far from the base, but of
Now
greater distance from the base.
Now, what happened there was Game Time made a really early aggressive call, which was impressive. They sent 3 through that left door, so Ryan wasn't able to shoot them all. Um, they overrun our base, and they still kept the 3 numbers there. Meanwhile, I think we were lucky that we got a counter hit on green at the same time,
Mm.
and they're still trying to hold our base, but eventually we get the recrack with 3 of us coming back in. And then coast to coast get a counter hit on red by the looks.
Yeah, so there's some stage here this is when Green have gone over to red and dumped.
Is this
So
the dump
Green have
already?
dumped to run. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess
well
it makes sense because I got my green and then red got their blue. So green know that they're down and their pack wasn't great either. So it's a pretty good call to dump this early. But yeah, I just didn't remember it being the case, I guess.
yeah. So it was 4 minutes, yeah, roughly four
Oh,
minutes in, and then red decided to essentially base swap with them.
this was the base swap. Oh,
This is the
awesome.
base swap. Yeah,
Okay, cool. So context now. Now I remember where we're at. Moomin and I are fighting the Reds for this base, because we can, and we get the green. We get the
yeah.
green over the top. I don't think they fully committed yet. I think they might have only had 3 there. I don't think we fought 5 for it. We might have, but yeah. So we get 2 of those hits. And then I look at my gun and I'm like, okay, it's a base swap. It's not ideal. But I look at the gun, 6 minutes left, and we've got 2 greens. And we know that Game Time are the sort of team that will go to green and then try and lock us out. But we've already got 2 hits on that, so we don't really care as long as we can keep our base count low. We're in a really good spot to beat them as long as we get our reds. So we're at green, just farming and trying to slow them down, because we might as well. Like, we've got nothing else to do. We've got nobody at our base. They're just shooting each other's base, so we're just trying to farm, keep the pack points ticking over, slow them down, whatever. We know that the chances of both teams being patient and both trying to lock us out are very low. So if you just starve coast to coast, let them have their reds, they're going to get hungry and they're going to come to blue. And then we just kind of leave Game Time at green to starve over there.
Yeah, I remember seeing the base swap, and it's not something you see a lot of in Australia. And going, oh, geez, here we go. Like it can also be very nerve wracking because if they do
Mm,
hold their nerve, it can really be a big problem. But
yeah,
I think we were pretty confident it was going to be. There were the chances of them both holding their nerve and being
mm.
very defensive on those bases was pretty low. And the
And
fact that you had the 2 greens as well was
puts us in a really good spot. And the other thing is, people are only gonna like both lock and hold if they both think they're gonna win out of it. Whereas coast to coast know that they're behind Game Time on points at this point, so they know that if they were to hold us out, they're playing for second, and they're not dumb enough to do that. So that means that they're not going to lock and hold. They're going to try and get their blues, make the most of Game Time trying to hold us out, and kind of exploit the Game Time want to be patient and that they can be selfish and kind of go. But them being selfish, yeah, really, really screws Game Time who want to keep us out. But like, Game Time can't expect them to do that again because it wouldn't make sense for them to do that because they'd be playing themselves into second. Um, so everything kind of plays out the way it makes sense to, but because they've base swapped early and we already have our 2 greens, everyone playing to win gives us the win kind of thing.
now this is the point where they start coming over because they both hit the other base 5 times, and they start taking over. So at this point, where I think it's about 7 minutes into a 10-minute game
Mm,
before we start going for our bases. So
yep.
it does, we do certainly run it pretty tight, but
And
there was still plenty of time.
yeah, and you see exactly what we were saying of, uh, the greens come first because they've finished their reds, and then red are still trying to hold us out of green. So we've got, I think, about 3 of us trying to get the dumps, because we know we probably are wise to muscle our way through that green. They've only got 2 or 3 committed because they know they need some at blue, and it shouldn't take numbers to get through our red. Like, it's going to be completely empty, so we don't really need to worry.
Yeah,
But I think we get kicked out of green. It doesn't quite work out, so we go start cycle our reds soon, I imagine.
yeah,
And then once our defenders are going to get fully kicked out, then I'm pretty sure we take them with us and just be like, there's no point being here anymore. We're not going to re-crack. Let's just go get bases.
yeah. Yeah, and
So
I
yeah.
think things kind of slow
Hey.
down at our base as well now because they're now pretty much both fighting full on for our
I,
base, so they kind
I,
of trade a bit.
I love it when the things like I say should happen because I'm like, we shouldn't be at green anymore, and we left, which is good. We see you
Yeah.
quickly at red. I think Game Time are starting to realize, hey, Coast to Coast is going to get 10 if we don't fight them at blue, and we're going to get 7, and that's going to be enough for us. So Game Time realized, oh shit, we also have to fight for blue, which again they don't want to have to do, but they have to if they want to win, which is going to open up the greens for us later on.
And I think is that
Um,
you under blue at the moment?
yeah,
Yeah, I think at this point I kind
that's
of
right.
said I'll roll everybody through the bases and you just go and like do run things pretty
I
much.
never got my red.
Yeah,
That's what
somebody
happened.
they
Shit.
call that a lake you, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you're like, I'll run it through. I'm like, oh, perfect. That sounds awesome. I'll go do some trolling at blue. Turns out I didn't have my red yet. I remembered being in red a lot, and I also remembered it being dumped. So my brain didn't really put 2 and 2 together that I needed it, which is really embarrassing because you'll see me in future games shooting dump bases to make sure I have them. Not good.
Well, here's a question:
um,
is it more embarrassing you missing the red or that the red player came back and tried to shoot his own base?
is
Because that
that
happens
wait
pretty
what?
shortly too.
Oh,
I
awesome!
think.
I'm so keen to see that.
Or is it? Oh, no,
um,
not yet.
So yeah, okay. I make sure that Ryan's getting his red. Very cool of me to make sure that he gets it and not myself. And you guys are fighting for your greens because you guys are all done at red, and I've told you I'm done at red.
Oh, so you and Holmes must have teamed up, and then I took Jay Hong and
Yeah,
Moomin out to get their bases. That's what's happened.
yeah. I remember seeing Holmes at blue, and I'm like, and we were kicked out. So it's like, okay, let's just go to let's. Do you have your red? Like, I want to make sure you have your red. Um, so we went and got that, and then I'm pretty sure I'd take Holmes to green at the end. Like, I want to make sure you get all your bases. So anyway, Holmes is here at green. Game Time have got 2 blues, so they've muscled their way through 2. Ballistic still needs his blue as well. So again, they're just fighting over our base, and it really does play out perfectly for us. Um, man,
Yeah, and I think that's pretty
thinking.
much the game. And that was yeah. And I remember after the second game, you were like, "I think we're up by about 20," and we would have been if you had have gotten your if you had have gotten your base in this game. But to your defence, you also spent a bit of time in red right at the start of the game. Like you went in there and you took them out a
Mm.
few times, so you might have just like thought you had it at that point.
Again, but between that and going there when it's dumped and knowing it's dumped, yeah, I kind of and whenever I'm like often whenever I'm trying to make sure everyone has their bases, I get it last because I'm like, I want to make sure you get it, and then I can just grab it later. So I'm like, Holmes, do you have? Let's go get it. But yes, no, very stupid of me to forget that. Luckily, it didn't cost us, but if I did it, if it did, I would have been kicking myself. I'll say at least I was useful at blue and not just dying, so that's something. Like I was having a great game if I got that base.
So
So yeah, no time to talk. We pretty much just get to say, yep, that went well. Let's play our usual red strat. Be prepared for dumps. I think this was the 1 minute briefing where it's like, be prepared for dumps. We're going to on dump straight away. Was most of the talk.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see it in a moment. But this is very much a much quicker dump. There was a base swap again in this game. Um, However, it was very different to the first game in sort of the timing of when it happened,
So
which we'll see very shortly.
I love the 1 minute talks because you just see me giving like 18 different hand signals to Holmes because we're like, what are we doing again? And I'm like, you're going there, and then I'm going there, and then we need to make sure this happens and this happens and this plays out. It's like 30 seconds to run through an entire 12-minute game.
Yeah, and
And
Holmes
we
is happy
actually
because he's outside of the base.
Yeah, and we actually start with 2 in the base because we're preparing for that dump. Red,
Yeah.
we never start with 2 in. It's just we're so ready for that dump that we do that. Now, coast to coast dump off rip, which is why Holmes gets that insta blue base. Um, and then
And then I'm waiting inside the base,
you're
and
in it.
then I think, yeah. So what happens is the greens come over and shoot me out. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah,
and then they take over, and it's essentially a base swap situation off the rip, essentially.
base swap. Was it a
And
base swap?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, okay. Uh, yeah, I guess it was.
if I
Where have I
speed
got it?
this up, how's your internet going to go, mate? Are you going
It's
to be
gonna.
able to follow it? It's going to
Like I'll be
freak
able to
out.
follow. I just won't be able to like see what's happening in bases. I'll just be able to see colors. But yeah, see how it goes.
See how it goes.
So they just lock. Maybe instead of speeding it up, let's just like skip through, like press the right arrow
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Cool.
to go across a bit. Um, yeah, you're right. So base swap. I think we're just pack pointing again, knowing that the game's going to break open late. Like just trying to stay patient, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, in these early base swaps, all you need to be thinking is keep the base count low, and the game will finish at yours. It's just that.
Yeah.
So I
And
think
and we and we did struggle on the field points in this game as well early on. Like it just didn't
yeah,
flow quite as well. Like when green and blue swap, it's kind of like, yeah, trying to good luck trying to get points around there. There,
because they're
it's a
not
little
even
bit more.
looking at each other because there's no normal interplay like you normally get. It's literally just 5 defenders at each base, only going to be looking at us trying to push out. But I also remember our field points were low because you were like pushing up pretty far, and I'm like, Bootza, like stay pretty
Yeah,
close to home to make sure that we don't drop because that's all that matters. And you're
yeah,
home, you kick them out, which is good because there were some initial attackers in our base which would have been really bad to drop to.
yeah. And
Um,
Skywalker was wandering in, so even though we couldn't actually push out for points much because
yeah,
they were just wandering in just enough to keep us back. So there was not a lot for us to do really.
so yeah, it's a game where it feels really painful to do early game, but you just got to kind of grind it out and just be like, it's all gonna pay off in the end. The game will finish at our base if we keep our base count low.
Yeah. Well, you can already see they're starting to now. The coast to coast guys are starting to show up,
Yeah,
um, and game time. So it's only 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes in, and we've already got two teams at our base essentially.
yeah.
So
So like again, if both teams thought they were winning, then you'd be worried of them staying at their base, but and you might have to dump somewhere and just try and muscle your way through. But with this, again, knowing coast to coast is out, you know that they have to make a play. Um, and you've just got so many numbers coming through at the moment, and you're winning that, Buzzer. You're winning that,
yeah, boy, yeah, boy.
mate. Holy
I
shit,
don't know
nice.
how.
Yeah, so you got all 3 teams at that base. Holmes now grabs his empty green because Coast to Coast dumped a green. They got 5, and now they're leaving. Um, and I'm pretty sure most of us are just home trying to desperately keep it out.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're pretty because we know we've got so much time. There's no rush for us to go get our empties.
Yeah.
And there's me
What's
trying to shoot
Are
people when
you
I'm dead.
good, mate? Yeah. Yeah. Moomin gets the re crack out and actually gets a denial on Odin there. Nice. Because yeah, they were in it for a long time, but as soon as they put shots on, you just have like 8 people coming through the doors here.
Yeah, we did a really
Um,
good job of keep. Like, I think this is the first time somebody gets it, or maybe they
I
get denied.
oh my god, denied by the other team.
Yeah,
Oh no,
yeah, he gets it.
he gets it. Yeah, really
Yeah,
nice save there. Like the game time guys were really good at getting it in and locking it.
mm,
I do think Coast to Coast get quite a long lock on it eventually. But for now, we're pretty much just trying to keep 4 home. Only have one person cycling the empties at any point in time. It's obviously pretty tempting to be like, oh, there's heaps of empty bases, go get them. But like, you're just trying to keep 4 back where you can. But
mm.
um, with greens
Ace was
dropping out
trying to
there,
keep us out of green. Look, Ace is back in green,
yeah,
bench
that makes it more
lingering
tempting. So
around.
I wonder if we need to bring numbers for him or if it's just him. Um, oh yeah, there's just people floating around trying to keep us out of both. Like game time is just
Yeah,
trying to keep us out of both at
that's
this
right.
point.
Yeah,
And while that happens, coast to coast is locking down red. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, like when you only have one floating around, I mean, Jae Hong finds his opportunity. I feel like at that point when they were just floating around, I was out with our guys fighting and running them through, but I could be wrong. Um, uh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
you're back
I'm
at
home. Cool.
red. Yep.
So must mean it's not too dire for like our float players, I guess. Like, yeah, Jayon just needs to win that 1v1 and then he gets the base. Cool. Oh, I'm trash.
Yep. And I think at this point our field points start to pick up as well because we're now spaced a bit better.
Yeah, I mean the whole game is at us, right?
Mm,
Um, and yeah,
yeah.
Moon's gonna start walking through. Ryan's fighting 8 people at a time.
Yeah. So Ace is
Winning
out
it.
there, not really getting many points, trying to hold us out of bases, but not being effective. So that would have cost him a little bit.
Yeah,
It would
for
have cost him a
sure.
player getting field points.
And it was another player at some point in time as well. Like they're kind of half committing to it, which
Mm,
in hindsight looks to be an issue. In theory, it can work, but your players need to be very like not dying at all to make it work.
mm,
But they're still somehow like overrunning red, which is impressive. Again, they're very good at getting in those bases.
mm. Yeah. So at this point, the dump's been at our base for 4 minutes, and it's gone down 3 times. So it's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty hard when all three teams are there, but we're pretty happy with where that sits at that point.
yeah. So I'm finally grabbing mine on the base down. So I was staying home and I only left because our base was down. But admittedly, I clearly didn't get home in time to try and get that recrack. But
Mm,
at this point, it's getting a bit late for me, and to make sure I don't get the bases, it was probably time for me to go. But no, I could have saved it for a better spot in the game in theory. But yeah, we're at 10 now, so I love the
yeah,
arse life spared.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
Coast to
we're
coast,
just
we're really starting to struggle at this point. Like I think the class of game time started to show through in terms of getting into these bases in absolute chaos.
yeah.
Having said that,
Like
Invalid makes the
Skywalker's got
move.
like a 165 TR in this, which is insane because like all of us are running like 100s, 110s, just like fighting for our lives with like 10 people
Mm.
around. Um, so like yeah, the class shows. Is this where Holmes gets crazy?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think Holmes shows us all up and gets like 10 kills here.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Um, but yeah,
What's his tag streak get to? I'm
uh,
looking at the fireboard, waiting for the tag streak to show up. There it is, 9.
yeah,
Woo!
9. Oh,
10.
he gets to 10. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Aw. Oh, and shot snide. And they take it. So again, they're just like
Yeah.
fighting each other over our base, which is always going to happen when coast to coast dumps and dumps. Like that's always how the game's going to play out, kind of thing. If
Holmes's
our
10
base count,
streak. Sorry,
if
mate.
our base count is low, yep, go on.
I was just going to say Holmes's tag streak literally just gave us the field point advantage.
Oh, sick. Yeah, that was insane. Like that's so good. Um, it's just a constant brawl in the base, and the rest of the base is empty. We're fighting absolute wars on the outside. I
Yeah.
remember like because we were trying to keep the snipers off us, but the snipers would just keep backpaneling and backpaneling. Like you were playing at blue, trying to keep the
Yeah.
snipers back. Like it was
Yeah.
just hell out there.
Yeah, I ended up having to walk all the way back to blue, and then
Mm.
two people were following me out there, and I'm like, fine, because you ended up coming out too at one point. Once we'd all
Oh,
cycled 10 bases, I saw you out there at one point. I was like, okay,
yeah,
that's
like
cool. Two of us out here is going to work.
yeah, like we're just trying to keep the snipers off our boys so they can get in. But yeah, bloody brutal game. But you see all of our tag ratios are picking up, kind of thing. Because we're
Yeah,
kind of going, okay, the base is too chaotic to get into. Let's step back a bit. But Holmes is still fighting for it and going crazy inside. So I don't know. I say that as I'm trying to recrack, which is not meant to be my role, but I've clearly just sent it. And more denies.
yeah,
Yeah, game time copped a lot of denies, which is why we were so confident that we were 20k up after the second.
yeah. So there it is. That's the second game done. And I'll
Yeah,
fast forward to the next one. So
and
yeah, at this point you pretty much called it. I was like, oh, I think we're winning, and you were like, I think we're winning by 20, and I was like, oh, okay. You're pretty much spot on.
yeah, no, that's good to see in hindsight. Um, Yeah, what do we do in this game? I'm pretty sure we're like, get ready to on dump, because if this is a 20
Yeah,
base game, we win the game. Sorry, 30
yeah,
base game, we win. So we just got to make sure we get our 30 bases. Sorry, 10 bases. Um, because we know we're 20k up, and you can't lose by 20k pack unless you do something very wrong. So it's just like
yeah.
all
It's
the
just
brain needs to be is we need to get our 10 bases. We know that coast to coast are going to probably dump off rip or at sometime very early in the game, and there they go. And um, so they're going to do that. They're going to play for 10 bases, which is going to force game time to play for 10 bases, which means we need 10 bases. So that's
yeah,
simple, and we just got to muscle our way through.
yeah.
Um,
And Skywalker knew they were going to dump off the rip, so he's straight in there getting their base first. And
yep.
they came straight over to us and said hello to us. And that was, yeah, so the first two games were base swaps. This was actually like a more traditional dumping situation.
Yep. So we try to hold them out for like a second, get some tags there, and then as soon as we see where the wind's going, I'm pretty sure we're about to leave and go to blue, which is
Yeah,
really good timing because game time brought a lot of people to cycle that empty. I think in hindsight, they probably only needed one to do that, but they are fighting some people there for some reason. Um, so the more people they're cycling with early on, the more it opens us up to dump onto them and like
yeah.
instantly get control. I don't remember if that's what happens.
It'd be interesting to find out if the coast to coast guys, as soon as they saw us leave, if they sent one back to their base or not.
I know there was one hovering around there for some reason, like, and that's why Game Time had people out there. And Invalid getting this base was really annoying because that should have been us. Like we brought the
Yeah.
dump to the base, and Invalid taking that over the top of
Oh
us
yes.
was a really good take by him and exactly what we don't want.
Yeah.
But again, luckily with these bases, once you get control, it's hard to lose it. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure we should keep control from here. So we've got you and I set up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We had to like cough up a few tags getting in, and then of
mm,
course, yeah, invalid taking it didn't help. But once we got set up, it kind of rolled from there.
yeah. Um, so you're gonna see game time. I think they still keep cycling. Like they probably need to just I guess they don't because they know we're gonna dump and dump. But uh, I think having those early numbers out helped us get in. But they did have to fight people there, so that makes sense. And Coast to Coast are going to be done with green, and I think they're going to meet us at blue, right, and start fighting us for it. So it's going to be a matter of can we keep Coast to Coast out while Game Time are just running around grabbing their bases.
Mm. Yep. Yeah. So I think we're successful for a period of time, and then we kind of pull the pin.
Yep. And now what Game Time are going to realize is, hey, we've actually still got no blues. We can lock no reds, so we can actually lock them out of red, and that's going to be a very good play by them, which is pretty much their only shot at winning, is they need to stop us from getting our reds as well as our blues. They know that we've already got the lock on blue. They're probably not going to get that one. But you'll see them later on when we try to go to red. They're going to meet us there.
I think if you have the audio on, you actually even hear them say it in the bass. We've got to hold them out of this.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'd be interested to know at what point they figured out, hey, let's keep them out of red, because it doesn't look to be yet, which means in theory one of us could have run off and grabbed that, but no, maybe there's blues hanging around there and it's just
Yeah,
people pack pointing.
yeah.
Um,
So at this point we have four hits, and it's
yeah,
I think I'm the last one to get it. And they'll come back pretty shortly and shoot us out, and then there we
yeah.
go.
So like
Oh
one
yeah,
of us could theoretically run off, but unless you're like fully confident, you don't really want to be doing that because like again, even though we had five there, we were still getting cracked out here. But
mm,
I think realizing we're cracked out, we just go to red now, don't we? And we're like,
yeah.
we'll get
So
that we'll get that one blue later.
yeah. I essentially grabbed everybody, said straight to go to red,
Yeah,
pretty much at
which
this
is a
point.
really good call because if we were trying to fight that for that, it wouldn't have been worth it at all.
Yeah,
So we go straight to red there. We get the crack in. I feel like we get re-cracked out though. Or
yeah.
do you get it instantly?
No, I'm the last to get red as well.
Yeah. So they
I
crack
think
us out.
we do get an early hit though. I think that's I get smacked in the face. That's the
Oh,
boom.
yeah, that was painful to watch. I was mad after that. Man, still did there. No, that was horrible to watch. I'm like, I can't do anything. Just gotta watch my boy get hit in the
Man,
face.
Skywalker's so good.
Yeah. So Ryan's in there. And yeah, people in both doors. Again, it's going to be an absolute cluster at red. And game time, no. If we keep Aurora out, we win this.
There's a
And we
chance.
know
Yeah, there's a
if
chance.
we get our 5, we win this. So it's very caveman brain this last game. It's like, we need to play for 10. We need to play for them not having 10.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's literally just who can muscle through who. We get 3 in, which is awesome. Um, I'm so bad.
Yeah. It's one thing we did really well, I think, in this situation. It was like, they were forcing us to earn it, and yeah, you got that inner ring happening around red, and you
Mm,
guys were able to, yeah, do what you
yeah,
needed to do to get into that base.
I think you'll hopefully be seeing it soon, but we did get through a phase where we're just getting recrack after recrack. So anyway, because I've got mine, I go back to take a sniper's position and shift Bootza into the inner circle. So that shifts Bootza to fighting for those guys. I'm just going to duel snipers the entire time, and again, there are a lot of snipers, so we're just backpaneling and dueling for ages, feeling like we're not helping. But you got to keep the snipers down to let your boys in. So it
Mm,
always feels bad to do.
yeah. So Holmes regularly getting in, Holmesy boy. Here he goes. He's on.
Yeah.
He's on. He's on. Oh, that was so lucky. Or did he get a
Oh,
stun on him, or did
uh,
he?
no,
Or
I
just he
I
just went.
think
He just took the shot.
Ace was kind of in the way a bit. He ducked down and then he got clipped from the other door, and Ryan had time to finish, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so that's 2 out of our 5. We got 4 minutes to get 3 more. Um, Again, game time, yeah, like so good at cracking in and holding it. Oh dear. I remember
What's Jay
Snoopy has an
Hunt?
insane game. Snoopy's on 300. So what Snoopy was doing is he was sitting on that back in the left door in like what we were calling dark. It's kind of what towards
Yeah.
the middle of the maze. So all the
Yeah.
snipers were fighting around the ramp, and then Snoopy was just sitting on the other side, shooting absolutely everyone. And
Oh
like
my god.
all the snipers were fighting around ramp, and Snoopy was just having an absolute field day shooting everyone in the back. Um, so yeah, Snoopy goes
Wow.
like crazy in this last game. Like he's on a 273, because our structure didn't account for like neutralizing that position because our 4 guys are just trying to get in the base. Snoopy's just
Mm.
sitting back there sniping. All the coast to coast guys are also trying to do an internal ring around the base, and maybe 1 or 2 fighting with me around the ramp and stuff. So Snoopy's just like, I remember like a minute left to the end of the game. I'm like, I check on him and I'm like, he's killing everyone. Nobody's been countering him once. He's got all of the points in the world. Shit.
Oh, that was nice by Moomin. That was really
Mm.
nice the way he came in and got that.
So yeah, beautiful recracking by
Yeah.
you guys. Again, it was like so slow and hard fought. It was like just waiting for the stars to align to get both of us in there without
Mm.
there also being 5 blues in there. um, I think we pick up on the cracks here though.
Mm.
Oh no, but you're actually the last base. I remember something Odin said. He was like, we'd kill 2 of you out, and then 3 of you would be back in 10 seconds later. It doesn't really look like that on camera, but like in game, it felt like we were, getting in there decently well. Um, so yeah, and now it's just going to be a pack point game. Game time, we're going to win that game. They're really good at pack pointing, and again, Snoopy's on a 200 TR when everybody else is riding like 100s.
Yeah, it was
I was up
interesting.
at
So
like a
it's like, what is
140.
it? 1,500, 2 grand at this point. By the end of the game, they extended out to 5 grand, and there's only a minute and a
Really?
bit left.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
just over
Um,
5. So
yeah, I
yeah,
think
they really did have their spread so good at this base.
yeah, I don't think we were quick enough to go, okay, just play solos. I think we were kind of still like a lot of the time in dump situations, you try to crack in because once you get in there, you have these potentials to do like what Holmes did, where you get like 10 tags. But
Mm.
if you don't get in, you end up just feeding a bunch of tags to get in. But it looks like everyone knows that everyone's got 10, and we're literally just playing solos. And when we're playing solos, A, they've got really good solos players, and B, they knew how to play off each other in solos, which is something that we're not really good at. Like, we've never played
Mm.
solos with teammates, if that makes sense. Whereas they're kind of used to playing those 10 base games where they'll like play solos and back panel to put each other in front of your teammates. So yeah, to get like a 4K lead off that is absolutely insane.
Yeah, they were throwing the kitchen sink at it at this point.
But yeah, like they said it themselves. We said it. We got our 10, so we know we're gonna win this. They knew what was happening. They was sad it was happening, but they still shot a lot of stuff at the end of the game. And Snoopy finished with a 180. So some people kind of contested him at the end, but he had just the longest run.
Yeah. His solo stats, somebody posted the solo ladder from the grand final. He was right up there. I think he was
Would have been me
podium
if I got
finisher.
that dump face. It was like neck and neck and neck between me, Snoopy, and Skywalker, but I didn't get a dump
Oh, is it?
face. So,
Oh,
yeah.
dear, mate. Awesome, mate. Well, yeah, thank you so much for jumping on, mate, and going through these games and giving us the rundown of what was happening in there from your perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of chaos. A lot of chaos. Really fun. I loved it.
yeah. It was such a different kind of game style and final series to what we're used to. So I know personally I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm pretty sure you did too. We had a lot of chats on the way home about it.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as teams were losing, they dumped. It was crazy. They wanted to win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't just like play themselves into a
Oh,
deeper
who would do
third by
that? Who would
sitting
do
around.
that?
No, we don't know any teams that would do that. Do we?
Oh man.
So we hope everybody at home's enjoyed the content too, and comparing it to comparing the three captains of each team and their experience in the game. It's kind of the first time we've done this kind of content. So yeah,
I'm
let
so
us
keen
know.
to watch theirs.
Yeah, me too. Let us know your feedback. We're really keen to hear if you enjoyed it. Alrighty, Brendan, Mr. Runt,
Beautiful. Thank you,
farewell.
Boots.
Thank you so much
See
for
you
jumping
guys.
on.